TextKit provide utilities to locations, to navigation over the location of the string. So one thing is to have it displayed, the other thing is to actually edit it. So where do you put the insertion point, how the selection works, all of that, there are helpers for that in TextKit 2. So for the selection, you have to know where it starts, like visually, where it ends, throughout what fragment it goes. So doing all of that calculations manually may be problematic. NSTextContainer selection do it for us, so it's so powerful. And the selection API looks like that. So I'm here and I say, okay, give me the selection of the word, and it gives me word, and I have to do nothing. My name is MARCIN KRZYZANOWSKI. I came from Poland. I am iOS and Mac developer these days. Before this, I was a Windows enterprise thing. I'm doing different applications, and I'm also doing some of the open source stuff. Some of them were more or less popular. The most popular is the CryptoSwift thing, that is implementation of cryptography. But I've been doing different things. So my recent fix-up is STTextView. That's the project this presentation is based on, the re-implementation of TextView component using TextKit 2. I also use the platform I accept the job offers for a week already. So for the next 30 minutes, you can send some job offers. I will accept some. But, so we have the year is 2024. What year is it? The year of what? What do you think?
Year of AI.
This is the year of AI. I agree. And what is AI? It's prompting, right? AI is 100% prompt engineering, and prompt engineering is text, at least with today's technology. But basically what happens is we convert string to something else, to image, to video, well, mostly to image and to another text. The video is still in demo. So today I will talk about how to get string. Is that me? No. How to get string on screen, how to lay out the string, and not necessarily how to edit, but you can treat that as an introduction to how to make the string editable. So the text is a king. I agree with that. If you don't, that's your problem. But the text is a king. And on the platform Apple, there's the TextKit. That is the framework to be used to produce, to work with the text. The TextKit is 20 years old framework. It's origin from the next step, so very early days. For 20 years, nothing happens. This framework was built with some API based on some assumptions and the problem they had 20 years ago. A lot of things changed, and just recently, 3 or 4 years ago, Apple decided to roll up TextKit 2, which is the new implementation, new version of the TextKit framework. Underneath, I don't know if you're familiar, underneath TextKit uses the core text, which is the lower level C API that work with the text. And the goal of TextKit was to fix all the bugs, all the problems that core text already has, so mitigate that on the higher level API. With the TextKit, you have amazing amount of flexibility to create professional grade layout. With the flexibility comes a lot of complexity in figuring out how to combine the multitude of options to get the layout you want. So that could go to the quotes app, right? That's one of our friends works on. Okay, so the TextKit 2. The TextKit 2 was introduced to the public, I think 3 years ago, maybe 4, I don't remember. So first they say we work on that already for a few years. We use that in a Mac, it's shipped to production, and now the API is public and you can start use it. Over the years, the API evolved a little bit. It was broken at the first. Now it's a little bit better, but this is the future. You can forget about the old TextKit stuff gradually. I mean, the current source code will still use it, but as you create the new components, you're going to deal with the TextKit 2. And the API is vastly different from the TextKit1. So where is the TextKit? What the components comes already with the TextKit, that uses TextKit? All of this that we're familiar with. So the labels, text fields, and TextView. While the UITextView and NSTextView, iOS and macOS components are the rich text components that allows you to not only display but also edit text. And yeah, so it's all over the place. It consists of we talk about the components that are involved in the text layout. There's a canvas, so the place where we draw the text, how we lay out the text container, like a frame of that, text itself, which is a font, and so on and so forth. Like a character, I marked T, character. That's one of the components that you're gonna deal with. In TextKit 2, it was not necessary per character. I don't know if you're familiar. There's a term glyphs that happens. You don't have to think about glyphs anymore. So the glyphs comes from the font itself. So there's strides, lines that, when put together, they create the character. We go away from this terminology. We no longer think about glyphs. We think about characters now, and it makes everything easier. Then we have here, there's a paragraph. So you work on a paragraph, kind of, which is a bigger component. Line, this comes from the layout. I will show that later. And the frame, which is the text container. You're familiar, the text container didn't change, this NSTextContainer. And NSText is used everywhere. Like this is a keynote, and as you can see, all the components are probably using a TextKit. So all over the place. It's really good to know how to use it. If not on the advanced level, just for, the designers can go crazy sometimes with the design, right? And if you know how to please them, it's good to have some knowledge about text. Other applications also use a TextKit. This is a Swift Studio app, which I worked on, and this component here is a STTextView, which is the TextView component that I built using the TextKit 2. So this is the real-world application that can use TextKit to enrich your application. Okay, let's talk about the API itself. The design of the API. It consists of the 3 layers. It's very good. Like the design is very good. So one is the storage. The storage is the model, the data, the text, whatever you want. Then there's layout. That's the engine that do the typesetting, word wrapping that fit in the frame. And on the high level, there's the display, and the display layer is responsible for actually displaying, so drawing the characters, putting into some canvas. It doesn't have to be like core graphics. It can be anything. You can print to, I don't know, to terminal if you want. So on the display, we have like canvas. It can be canvas, yeah, some drawing, the presentation layer that may map to those objects we know. So it can be UI view, core graphic, core animation layer. Layout. For layout, layout is the engine that do all the heavy work, and it works with the text container, which is a frame. It works with the layout fragments. Those are internals of this engine. Text attributes, you know the text attributes with this NSTextContainer. Everyone uses that. It's very deep into the TextKit API. So it mapped to text container. You know text container, that's the frame. Viewport controller is like a viewport that is currently visible where the layout engine works at the moment, and some more abstract elements I will discuss later. And the storage can be whatever you want. Currently, with the TextKit1, we have NSText storage, I think. But with the TextKit2, there's no longer that limitation, and the storage is a protocol. Actually, it's an abstract class, but it comes with a protocol element provider. So it's up to you. How do you transform the entry input to the text? So you can read, I don't know, image, but still output text. It would work. How it works? So the storage creates text elements. Those are virtual elements that it just parse the input and create those elements. Those elements are digested by the layout manager, and it creates the layout fragments, which is this is text that already has the properties with the size, position, and all of that. And then the display takes that layout fragment and is responsible to actually put it on the screen. That would be the how it is layered. So the frame around is NSTextContainer. This is where the text has to fit. This paragraph is a text element, and this one line is a layout fragment, because in that case, that's how it was implemented. In a code, it's quite straightforward. So you can use that without any of the UI label or UITextView things. Create a text container. So we define the frame. Text manager. It comes with the text content storage. That's the implementation provided by Apple. It's a storage for the text. Set up layout manager. So layout manager said, use that text container and add the layout manager to the content manager. Then just set a string. You know, that's pretty obvious what's going on. So set a string to the content manager. Finally, I can calling this ensure layout. It will trigger the whole machinery, and the layout will do the calculation. So all the fragments have positions, and I can enumerate over the fragments. And over here, there's a function to draw that here on the current graphic context. But it doesn't have to. It can be something else. And the result of this code is this. So I put a very long lorem ipsum with 2 lines, but it's not necessarily layout how I expected. And the reason for that is because the container has no boundaries here. It's just a very large canvas, so it uses all the width it could. If I add some constraint, like here, said the width has to be 300, it will try to, use just the smaller frame, and the result is obvious. It's like this. So the layout manager know where to fit and just try to put the letters further down. So this is our NSTextContainer. How to customize this work for the customization of this API. There are 2 approaches, very familiar. Well, this API is Objective-C API. That's how it was implemented. It's not a Swift API. So it's full of the design patterns known from the Objective-C and from the UIKit world, including there's a background mode, but it doesn't use the actors or staff, it uses the dispatch queue. So the customization is through the delegates and through subclassing. Content Manager has delegates. Those delegates allows us to customize the elements that comes from the Content Manager. Here I return my custom implementation of the paragraph. This paragraph has some additional properties that I may need in my case. Then there's a Layout Manager, delegate also. And combining the Layout Manager is actually very small, and the text container, I can do this kind of things. So there's an exclusion path on NSTextContainer that says, do not layout text in this fragment, and there can be multiple fragments like that of the multiple shapes, because it's a NS Bezier, I think. Then there's a line fragment. Line fragment function allows us to customize the margin of each fragment. It's called for each fragment and say, okay, I calculated it on 5, but how do you feel? Should it be on 5 or should it be on like different value? So you can customize the the rectangle of the fragment. Text container, that's the old class, and that's a weird thing. Well, the actual real thing is that the TextKit2, how it is deployed, is weird. The components, NSTextView, UITextView works in 2 modes at the same time. So it uses TextKit1 and TextKit2 at the same time. And it can switch between one and another mode. During that switch, it has to set up the other one, all the components, copy data, do the layout, show you what's going on, switch back, do the layout. That's a performance killer. But they do that to keep the backward compatibility while the new API or new engine do not have all the features that the old one has. And this container, as is shared, its old component, not all of that works with the new API. So for instance, this layout manager, NS layout manager, is for TextKit1. So if you in the TextKit2 mode, that's not going to be used. Same with that. That's probably going to be used. TextView, that's another one. That's very interesting. Yeah, so those not going to. That's interesting. That's interesting. Why the NSTextContainer has a link to NSTextView? This is from Mac, so that we UITextView on iOS. Why the hell? Like, what's the point? That's the frame. What does it need? Exactly the implementation on NSTextView. While I can have a custom text view, not necessarily NSTextView, right? Yeah, there are reasons, and the reasons are private, unfortunately, and the reasons are they use some of the calculations that are implemented privately on an NSTextView to facilitate by the new TextKit layout engine, and it shouldn't happen, but break all the assumptions about the abstractions of that 3 layers of the design. I had a struggle with that. I have a custom text view, so this link doesn't exist, and I couldn't take the whole system couldn't take the advantage of this property. So next, the customization, layout delegate, same situation. I have a fragment, and I return fragment with some additional properties. In my case, there's a show invisible characters. That's my property that I added. And the drawing, on the layout fragment, there's a function draw that is responsible to draw each fragment. And this is the place where you either put it on a current core graphic context, or you can put it wherever you want. You can send it over the internet if you will. Finally, on the display level, the viewport layout controller, that's the innovation in the TextKit for the performance reasons. So to avoid to not lay out the whole screen over, they say, okay, what if we just limit the surface of layout just to the visible area, so that should, reduce the memory footprint and the CPU usage. And of course, that's the great idea and works great. So there's dedicated controller for that. What we have to do as a providers, we have to say how big is the view window. On top of that, TextKit provide utilities to locations, to navigation over the location of the string. So one thing is to have it displayed, the other thing is to actually edit it. So where do you put the insertion point, how the selection works, all of that, there are helpers for that in TextKit 2. Location is abstracted to this. So we only work with the location that has one function, compare, and it's answered the question another location is before or after. Thanks to that, the storage provider is very abstract. The storage provider can understand actually this location, but you as a consumer doesn't have to. And that's how the content manager uses that. And another thing is selection. It's so powerful. So for the selection, you have to know where it starts, like visually, where it ends, throughout what fragment it goes. So doing all of that calculations manually may be problematic. Also including like left to right, right to left changes in the middle, or vertical scripts, or all the quirks you can find with the text. NSText selection do it for us. I just need to provide where the selection start, where it should end, or in what direction, and by like one word or something, and it will return me the new ranges. So it's so powerful. And the selection API looks like that. So I have a selection and get the new selection based on in that case, I select one word, and that's the result. So I'm here, and I say, okay, give me the selection of the word, and it gives me word. And I have to do nothing. Like, I don't have to even iterate over the word by myself. It just understand that. Okay. Small demo on UITextView. So UITextView is the most common interface that you're gonna deal with. It defaults to TextKit 2 if you initialize it like that. It's just UITextView. To initialize with the TextKit1, there's a parameter that says something, use text layout, something like that, true or false. But default to TextKit 2, the property text, which update the content storage manager. Here I add the exclusion path. So say it do not draw in the middle, and it just works. 3 lines. If I want to customize that, I just set the delegates, the drill. It's pretty straightforward. What are the use of TextKit? Well, obviously there's a text editor. This is a text editor that is built, that I built from the ground. So this is a manifestation of TextKit 2, all the powers it provides, an interaction with the system input interface. So underneath is just a view plus keyboard, and using the TextKit, I get all the positions and updates, and it's quite performant. I use that in a SwiftUI, but you can use that for the ChatGPT interfaces, programming editors, book readers, all of that, all over the place. TextKit is the thing. But implementing TextKit 2 is not that straightforward as when you start work with that. And over the time, there are multiple problems that Apple either forgot to implement or, provide some bugs. And those are all the bugs I reported over some time, and some are really, really surprising, like the calling to replace content do nothing, and you don't know why. You just accept that and provide the workaround. If you work with the NSTextView and something is broken, you probably have no possibility to fix it. A lot of things is hidden. Some functions are used only by TextKit1. There's a lot of garbage. That's why I went with the re-implementing everything, and I thought that, okay, because NSTextView doesn't work well, so I'm gonna re-implement it's gonna be better. And I'm a year later, and it works, but it took me a year, right? It's not like a one-week project, definitely. So there are quirks that may not work, or maybe not obvious. Sometimes the documentation is just lacking, and the documentation itself is a problem. So to wrap up what's going on, we default to TextKit2 API. Forget about TextKit1. There's the 3 layers. Storage layer design, think about it. You don't need to invent any architecture on top of that. It doesn't have to be a view. You can print to PDF, to file, to whatever you want. The starting point is actually UITextView and NSTextView. This is where you start to play with this API. Customization is a bit more advanced. Delegates and subclasses as a way to customize. And yeah, use NSTextContainer Content Manager where possible. That's just a small device. When it comes to documentation, unfortunately, there's not much. So we have DAP 2021, meet TextKit 2, when they introduced the TextKit. Then there is next year, what's new in TextKit in general. So some remarks, and that's about it. So the documentation is not full. There is a demo project for one of these talks. I wouldn't recommend go hard on that project. It has some bugs. It's not perfect. Also, it was not updated since published. So, but if you wanna check out how I've built and what I learned while working with this API, go to STTextView, and that's the open source project sometimes with some comments about workarounds that I had to apply. And that's all. It was 26 minutes. That's great. That's all. If you have any questions regarding TextKit.